I'd like to welcome everybody to our regularly scheduled February board meeting that was scheduled for February 15th, but was rescheduled to tonight, the 22nd, so that we'd be able to have some power, because there was too many power outages last Monday and we were not able to meet or have our Zoom meeting. I see all board members. Is Mr. McLaughlin here now?
He's signing in right now.
Okay. Yeah. So we have quorum with all board members present. If we could stand for the pledge to the U.S. flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the
Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. You may be seated again. And I had not received anyone that wanted to be heard or have a letter sent for public forum. So we'll proceed with our superintendent's report.
Madam President, members of the board, good evening. It's good to see everybody back. As we were talking about earlier, it was a fun last week. Well, it's fun and stressful. And so we want to start out by just giving a little bit of a few shout outs. And I know I'm missing some people, but I just want to thank our support services team, everybody. So for most of the viewing public, they don't see our custodial and our maintenance, transportation. They don't see them in the buildings. Mr. Barton, Mr. Sandoval, all the directors, were in the buildings all last week during the storm, driving around, saw several principals in the building, checking on kids, teachers coming up, our parents and students. We want to thank them. Coach Walsh, who's on this call, he doesn't say a whole lot, but, he was out in the middle on Thursday driving around, delivering milk and water to his athletes that he was checking up on. He called his athletes and delivered milk and water. And, when I said, "Are you out in all that craziness?" He was like, "Well, I'm from Jersey." He probably lived there like 4 years, but still, it goes to show you his dedication. Mr. Wozniak, Mr. Hall, Mr. Montana, Brianna Foster, Ms. Cronk, Mr. Villalpando, Bobby Joe Villanueva, Bob Watson, Stuart Breeze, Juan Cruz, Alex Sainz, Alvin Bell, Lucy Prince. Those are the bus drivers that were doing the warming centers. And it's funny, some of y'all were asking me questions about where they were going to be. Well, they don't tell me. So that just goes to show you kind of what servant leaders they are, because they didn't even tell me they were going out. They just did it because they were working. Chief Staff has a good relationship with Mr. Wozniak and with the transportation directors. And so when he called them, he knows Mr. Wozniak, I'm going to say yes. And so they just go ahead and do it. So I was finding out as y'all were finding out where they were going. But also on top of that, HEB, Fuego, Zaxby's, Chick-fil-A, they fed them. San Marcos Barbecue, who with less than 24-hour notice said, "We'll go ahead and help you feed your support services group on Saturday." And really, I want to give a shout out to the city of San Marcos. City manager, Mr. Lombreras, chief staff, Ms. Reyes, Stephanie Reyes, Kelly Kistner. They had me in on a call with them early Saturday morning because, at that point, power had been, for the most part, in most places, restored, but then water became an issue. The water boil was in effect. And so they were in constant communication with our people in the district and with me about getting the schools up and running. They wanted the water pressure to be right when the schools came in. They wanted everything. And they were actually 2 days ahead on clearing their water boil. They were predicting Tuesday. So it was a real team effort. And so we really appreciate the city of San Marcos and including us and they really prioritize us like they did the hospital system to make sure that our kids and our families would have a place on Monday to come to and our staff would be taken care of. So it was an interesting week to say the least. But let me answer some of the questions that we were going to answer from a couple of weeks ago that some of y'all had asked. So this stops the Friday before chaos began, if that makes sense. Again, just images from our people. You know, it was fun, but one of the images is a cracked window at Crockett because kids were out there playing in the snow and stuff like that happens sometimes. And so that, you know, we'll take care of it. But our transportation drivers, our support services team, and then on Friday, transportation department was out at the baseball fields clearing the snow. And I say this often, if you just leave the transportation people alone, they'll kick you out of the way because they know how to take care of business and get things done. And so Coach Webb asked them for help, they went and helped, and then they kind of just shushed them away so that they could take care of business and get the kids on the field Saturday. So you can't say enough about them and what they did for our district and how they represented us. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the work that they do every day, but especially last week and during the past year. Next slide, Andrew. So there were some questions that have been asked about 3 weeks ago about the number of COVID tests. So we've given that, and you'll email this to y'all afterwards. We were still putting it together today. But these are the number of tests per campus that you can see, total tests, positive students and positive staff. This is also reflected on our portal, our website. Next slide. A question was asked about the number of tests for athletes. So urgent care was who we work for, and we had 197 students tested. We had 0 students that were positive that we tested. We tested 49 staff, and 1 staff tested positive out of that. And Coach Walsh is also on here. Then a question was asked about the number of vaccinations per staff. So we surveyed all 1,230 employees, 788 responded. You can probably imagine the ones that didn't are probably our support services group that don't have access to technology. So we're still trying to find accurate numbers. So the questions we asked were, have you received the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine? 377 of the 788 answered yes. 411 of the 788 answered no. Then we asked, have you received a second dose? At that time, 31 answered yes, 757 answered no. And the plan is for Thursday to vaccinate through Hays County up at the high school, both days that should have taken place last Monday and Tuesday. So this Thursday, they're going to take everybody at the same time. And if the community members have any questions, if they have a time that's 1 o'clock, they show up on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Whether they were Monday or Tuesday, they're going to show up and they'll work an arrangement to take care of them. And then we asked them, where did you get the vaccine? 216 of that 788 used Hays County, the vaccine clinic, and then 161 answered other locations throughout the area. Now we still are we're still waiting. Our head nurse, Ms. Eastwood, and Mr. Wozniak got us approved to give the vaccines through the state. We asked for 1,000 doses. We don't know if that will come in. If that does, that will help our staff tremendously because I think we can knock our staff out pretty quickly. But we're still waiting on the shipment, and we don't know. And I think they're probably all about a week behind because of the storm. Especially Austin, they may be even further behind because of some of the issues that they're dealing with. And then a question was asked about the number of students back. So this is going back to January 25th. And you can see it started about 3,523 for all our campuses. And then it would go up to 4,145 then drop back down to 3,671 and 3,308. And if you can go to the next slide, Andrew. And then in early February, it was about 3,800, 4,200, 3,900, 4,300, 3,458. And then right before this Snowmageddon, we were at 4,503, 4,848, 4,742. So 47, 48, 48 is probably about 59%, roughly about 59% of our kids were in the buildings up until then, and then we stopped that, and then we have not picked that back up. So we were about 60%. I would venture to guess today maybe maybe a little bit less, 50%, just because people are dealing with some stuff. A question was asked about teams or classes the district has quarantined. And so those are listed. We did quarantine all of high school summer workout when all this first started. We were, I think, in day 1 or 2 when Coach Walsh made the decision to shut everybody down out of safety. High school volleyball, all grade levels were shut down. High school girls basketball, all grade levels. High school boys basketball, all grade levels, 9 through 12. Freshmen through varsity. High school girls soccer. High school girls soccer actually got quarantined twice, I believe. Goodnight basketball, boys all got quarantined, and then the girls 7B team got quarantined. Out of this, nobody else tested. There was not a student-to-student case of transmission. It was just localized to either the staff or the student. So I think our protocols are working. And then a question was asked on updated PPEs. So you can see, I think in particular, the disposable masks for adults, the 156,000 that were donated. That's the most current that includes us distributing. And you can see the different materials that are available to get us through the rest of the year. And then next slide, I think that's it. And that, Madam President, is my superintendent report. I have Mr. Wozniak and Coach Walsh. They're on this call if anybody has any other specific questions.
Any questions from the trustees? We can proceed to the resolution in support of the San Marcos Lions Club. Did you want me to read that, or were you going to read it?
I don't know if all the board members are aware, but I think a couple of trustees that asked for a resolution in support. They do a lot for our community. And when I say a lot, they do a lot for our students. They do a lot for our staff members. People don't realize that they were testing all our pre-Kers at Bonham for eyeglasses and at other elementary schools. They provided thousands upon thousands of dollars of gift cards for our teachers for supplies. They early on in 2016, they were paying for all advanced academic tests for all. They did not want any student paying for any AP test. They can continue that. They dropped it to about $10,000, but they still funded other reading programs and literacy. The Lions Club really has been given a lot. They help us out. They volunteer at our STEAM fair. They're visible at our STEAM fair and other community events. And I know that there were some board members who were wanting to show support on behalf of the district and the things they do for our community, which I'm missing so many more because there's a lot more history to them. But that's just since I've been here. The work they've done is truly appreciated in what they do for us.
Are we reading the resolution?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you putting?
I think you get to do that honor. Do you have it in front of you?
I do. Whereas the citizens from all over Texas visit San Marcos to participate and enjoy recreational activities on the San Marcos River and generate revenue for businesses in our community. Whereas San Marcos Lions Club has consistently given back to the community of San Marcos for donating much of the tube rentals profits to charitable organizations that support our students and community members. And whereas the San Marcos Lions Club has donated thousands of dollars to provide scholarship opportunities to deserving students of our district. And whereas it is imperative that the city of San Marcos continue to support nonprofit organizations that give back to the community that it serves. And whereas the San Marcos Consolidated Independent School District supports organizations such as the San Marcos Lions Club that support our students and our mission as a public school district. Whereas the San Marcos Consolidated Independent School District wishes to support San Marcos Lions Club Tube Rental's continued operation on the San Marcos River so that it may continue its philanthropic efforts in our community. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the San Marcos Consolidated Independent School District that the district supports San Marcos Lions Club Tube Rental continued operations on the San Marcos River. And I'm going to end it with their roar.
Ms. Cantu, I'd like to approve of this, or move that we approve this resolution.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
That was Ms. Mejia seconding. All in favor, please show of hands. 7 votes. All opposed? None. So ordered this 15th day of February 2021. That is on the resolution, but we mean today, February 22nd. We can continue with our agenda. We're going to go into closed session 551.071 Texas Government Code, consultation with legal counsel regarding grading policy and procedures. And so all those people that are not going into executive session can leave the room. Okie dokie, we're back to our reports.
Yes, we're still waiting for Ms. Pearson, Ms. Owens, and Ms. Villanueva. Are they on yet, Mr. Fernandez?
Mr. Cardona, can you make me a co-host?
Yeah, I thought I did, but let me. Are you not, Andrew? Are you not a co-host yet?
No, sir.
They are on, though, Dr. Ruiz, if you want to go. Hold on. It's a problem with one person being, everybody's joining at the same time. Okay, you should be good, Mr. Fernandez.
Got it.
Mr. Fernandez, this is the updated annual report.
Get in there.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Board of Trustees. I'm Monica Ruiz-Mills, and this evening we'll be presenting our 2019-2020 annual report. Presenting with me this evening will be Ms. Amber Owens, Ms. Rose Pearson, and Ms. Elena Villanueva. The purpose of this presentation is to publish the annual report. The report focuses on the 2019-2020 school year, which is the first school year largely impacted by the COVID pandemic. However, much of the academic achievement data will be missing from last year due to the cancellation of STAR. There are also student outcome indicators that are lagging indicators, meaning that the data applies to the school years prior to the 2019 and 2020 school year, and the lagging indicators will be pointed out throughout the presentation. Next slide, Mr. Fernandez. The complete taper report and the annual report can be found on this link, www.smcisd.net/accountability. This is on the district webpage. It is 1,200-page document, and tonight we are providing the PDF taper overview. The 7 components of this report are included on the website as well as in your binder. Again, this presentation is an overview. What is missing from this report is the assessment data from the 2020 school year, but TEA has populated the report with data from the 2019 school year. Next slide. So the format that appears in the annual report binder is the PDF version, which is what we gave to the school board members. Copies of this report will be available at each campus and at the district office within the next 10 business days. And the comprehensive report, again, can be found on our website. Next slide. So in 2020, campuses were not rated with one of the A through F designations. However, the designations did remain on the website, but we were given a declared state of disaster rating that was across the entire state. In 2020, the special education determination status was meets requirements because there was not any academic performance data. What was used was the number of students in SPED that were graduating with a diploma. They looked at the overall program. They looked for significant disproportionality, meaning placement of students in our DAEP or any discipline data as well. For 2020, the ASVAB, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test, we did not have to apply for our waiver for that in the 2020 school year. Our high school was very proactive, and they had actually administered 3 ASVAB tests prior to us having to go into the COVID-19 instruction. And again, because there was not any testing in 2020, there were no distinction designations awarded. Next slide. Just an overview of what Section 1 entails. There are 3 performance rates as you reviewed the data. There's approaches grade level or above, meets grade level or above, or master's grade level. If a student is in the master's grade level, they also count in the approaches or the meets category as well. That is how they designate the performance. The STAR growth measure quantifies a student's year-to-year performance by comparing current year and prior year scores to STAR. So for example, they would take my English 1 end of course STAR performance level and compare it to the end of course English 2 ELAR 2 performance level, and they would come up with that growth measure there. It also calculates the percentage of assessments that meet or exceed the progress measures and the percentage of students that maintained or improved their performance levels from the previous year. Next slide, please. Ms. Owens?
This portion of the TAPER report shows the 2 different graphs, one for STAR performance and the other for academic growth. The first graph on the left with the green and blue bars show the performance of our students at meets or exceeds expectations for the 2017-18 and the 2018-19 school year. You can see a slight increase in the overall percentage of students performing at or above grade level. On the right, the graph with the orange and blue bars represents the academic annual growth of our students in reading and math only. You will see a slight decrease, but overall, the district shows overall improvement in academic achievement. Next slide. Okay, the STAR performance section of the TAPER report displays performance results by grade, subject, and performance level. Progress of prior year non-proficient students looks at the percentage of students in grades 4 through 8th grade who did not meet satisfactory on the prior year assessment, but meets satisfactory or proficiency on the current year's assessment. The Student Success Initiative, or SSI, is a grade advancement requirement that requires students to demonstrate proficiency on the reading and math assessment only in grades 5 and 8. The bilingual education and ESL, English as a second language, are programs designed to develop proficiency in listening, speaking, reading, and writing for our English language learners. That is outlined also in the STAR report, and we look at the annual progress for that student group as well. STAR participation is the percentage of students who were administered the STAR assessment, the STAR Alt 2, TELPUS, or the TELPUS Alt assessment that is determined. They use that to determine the accountability rating. Next slide. Lena, or Rose, excuse me.
Performance measures in this part are based on the 2018-19 and 2017-18 school years. The most recent data for which this is available are those years. In this section, you have an overview on the district's attendance rate, the annual dropout rates for grades 7 through 8th, and then grades 9 through 12th. The longitudinal graduation rates, the status of a group or the cohort of students after 4 years in high school, that's a 4-year longitudinal rate. After 5 years in high school, that'll be the 5-year extended longitudinal rate, or after 6 years in high school, that'll be the 6-year extended longitudinal rate. For the 4-year longitudinal rate, the cohort consists of students who first attended 9th grade in the 2015-16 school year. They are followed through their expected graduation with the class of 2019. For the 5-year extended longitudinal rate, the cohort consists of students who first attended 9th grade in the 2014-15 school year. They are followed for 5 years and included if they graduated within a year after their expected graduation with the class of 2018. For the 6-year extended longitudinal rate, the cohort consists of students who first attended 9th grade in the 13-14 school year. They are followed for 6 years and included if they graduated within 2 years after their expected graduation with the class of 2017. The graduation profile is for the 2018-2019, which is the most recent year this data is available for. It includes the graduate's ethnicity, the graduation type, and the program category. Next slide, please. This is a visual on the 2019 graduate profile, the 5-year graduation rate, the dropout rate, and the attendance rate. The dropout rate is an area in which we continue to focus a great amount of time and effort and resources. Some preventatives and interventions we have put in place include assigning a lead at San Marcos High School in the role of overseeing the MTSS committee that meets weekly. This is the multi-tier support system to brainstorm and discuss different ways to support our students. Some of the supports include home visits, assigning a mentor, submitting a counseling referral, working with our community partners to support students and families, consideration of the Phoenix program or the Button Academy, monitoring attendance trends very carefully, counselor meetings to review transcripts and put plans in place, and we also maintain a mover and leaver spreadsheet that we monitor closely to account for all students. Some of the challenges we've encountered are unaccompanied youth that move around because they choose to leave and not stay with their guardians. Others suffer from severe mental health issues and some choose not to return to work full time. Next slide, please, Ms. Villanueva.
To follow up on the information presented by Ms. Pearson, the slide shows the 2018-2019 graduate profile. This is the most recent data that we have available. The charts above provide an overview of what the SMCISD graduate looks like. The first pie chart shows ethnicity of our graduates. 76% of our graduates are Hispanic, 60% of them are white, 5% are African American, and 3% are other ethnicities, which includes Asian, Pacific Islander, and 2 or more races. The bar on the right, you will also see that probably in the presentation that you have there, it's differently. So I've changed that just because I had the wrong graph in there. So the bar on the right shows that the graduates by program and category. According to the table report, 62 of our graduates are economically disadvantaged. 52 of them are at risk, and 3.3 are LAP. And then we also have 9.60 that are special education. Next, please. Section 1 also includes the CCMR data. The CCMR component is also known as the College and Career Military Readiness. This component is a part of the Student Achievement Domain, which measures students' preparedness for college, workforce, and military. This is 40% of our high school accountability, and it is tied to the CCMR indicators, in addition to 40% of STAR scores and 20% for graduation rates. The latest CCMR graduate information, again, is lagging. It's from the 2018-2019 school year. And that is a part of our 2020 TA accountability. The goal at SMCISD is to create a culture in which all students are college and career military ready. To measure students' college readiness, students are provided with opportunities to meet TSI, which is the Texas Success Initiative criteria on SAT, ACT, and TSI assessment, along with dual credit courses through the collaboration with other organizations such as Austin Community College and the Early College High School through Coastal Bend College. Students have the opportunity to test for advanced placement exams through College Board. To support our students to be career ready, students are able to earn industry-based certification in selected CTE courses. In 2019, students received credit for CCMR, half a credit, for courses that they participated and they did not meet certification requirements. For the 2021 accountability, students will need to earn the whole certification in order to earn the 1 point. Special education students also that participated in career prep courses were able to earn the career readiness indicator. To measure the number of students that enrolled in the military, the San Marcos High School Counseling Department, the ROTC, and College and Career Office confirm enlistment with various military branches. San Marcos High School coordinates with Armed Forces to administer the ASVAB, which is the Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery Exam, to determine that our students are qualified to enlist in the United States Forces. Next, please. Here again, we're looking at the district's efforts in preparing our San Marcos High School students. You can see that from 2018 to the 2019. The graph on the left shows a comparison with an increase of 23% of students that met CCMR in 2019. I apologize for the small chart over on the right-hand side. However, that chart is used more of a graphic to show the 10 CCMR indicators. The indicators in yellow are directly linked to College Board, and they include SAT, ACT, Advanced Placement, and TSI. Each TSI assessment has their own criteria to show mastery. The purple indicators are gathered by the participation in dual credit courses, college prep courses from our yearly PEAM submission. Next, please. The graph above provides additional insights on the individual indicators from 2018 to 2019. The bar graph on the left shows an increase in all of the indicators from 2018 to 2019. I want to point out the significant increase in CTE coherent courses, industry-based certification, and TSI criteria. The graph to the right shows the state and district comparison in 2018 and 2019 school year. In 2018, SMCISD trailed behind the state by 18%. And in 2019, SMCISD direct efforts increased the district's CCMR rate by 23%, only 2% behind the state. SMCISD strategized to increase students' preparedness for college and career readiness and implemented purposeful identification of students to meet TSI performance, along with the collaboration with Texas College Bridge, ACC, and Coastal Community College to prepare students for post-secondary education. Career preparedness efforts include student participation in CT courses and preparing students for industry certifications. Mr. Doyle and the San Marcos High School continue to seek opportunities for our students to have career opportunities available to them. One change that we will see in 2021 accountability is that TA has removed the CTE coherent course half credit, and they will only give credit for those students that actually meet the certification. Next.
Thank you. So the information presented on the next slides will reference data captured on the PEAM snapshot date back in October of 2019. That was the last Friday in October of 2019. You will see student information, staff information, and program information. Next slide, please. Ms. Owens?
Students in SMCISD receive a code that reflects the demographic and program information. This is our student program profile groups that show the percentage of students in each program for the 2019-20 school year. Our economically disadvantaged category remained the same at 74% from the 2018-19 school year. The at-risk group increased from 51.4% to 52.7%. There are 13 at-risk indicators that qualify a student to be coded as at-risk. Our mobility rate as a district increased from 12.9% in 2018-19 to 14.7% in the 19-20 school year. On page 25, you will see the type of primary disability under special education. You can see it's at 13.5%. We have 601 students with intellectual disabilities, 200 students with behavioral disabilities, 119 classified as a student with autism, 170 with physical disabilities, and 11 classified as a child with non-categorical early childhood disability. Next slide, please. The chart in front of you represents the profile of our students and our teachers. On the left, you will see that our students, we have 72.7% of our students identified as Hispanic, 20.4% identified as white, 4.6% as African American, and 2.3% as others. On the right, this is the demographic group of the teachers in San Marcos CISD. We are trying to represent the community which we serve. Over the last 3 years, we have seen a shift in percentages. You will notice that we have 55.4% of our teachers identified as white. That is a decrease from 69%. And we have 39% that identify as Hispanic, which is an increase from 27%. We have 3.3, which is a slight increase for our African-American staff, and 2.1% as other. Next slide, please.
So additional information pertaining to our instructional staff, you'll notice that 34.1% of our staff are in years 1 through 5 of their teaching careers. It's imperative that we continue with our mentor program and providing rich professional development so we can improve and continue with our teachers so they stay within the profession and they bring their experience to us in our district. We also have the average years of experience by principal, assistant principal, and teachers on the left. And tenure refers to the amount of years each one of those categories has been within our school district. Next slide. These are the standard financial reports that were presented by Dr. Barton back in the fall. The district did earn an A in the financial integrity rating. This too can also be found on our TAPER annual report website. Next slide. We maintained our accreditation status and there have been no changes to these ratings for the 2019-2020 school year. Next slide. Ms. Owens?
The report includes all campus improvement plans. The SIP includes a comprehensive needs assessment, program evaluation, and analysis of assessment data and local assessment data. Each campus identifies a goal for improvement or several goals for improvement, and they are directly aligned to the SMCISD core commitments. Our campus plans were approved back in November by the school board and are reviewed at the campus level quarterly. The binder includes a written summary of those goals and how they align to student outcomes, and those can be found in tab 4. Next slide. Ms. Pearson?
Each year, we are required to provide a report on violent and criminal incidents that occurred on each campus. The report must include information concerning school violence prevention and violence intervention policies and procedures the district is using to protect our students. Findings that result from evaluations conducted under the Safe and Drug-Free Schools and Community Act, if any. Also, the number, rate, and type of violent criminal incidents occurred on each campus. This report is subject to FERPA. If fewer than 5 students are involved, the data must be masked. Next slide, please. I believe in your board book, you may have an error where you can see a number under Miller for number 2032 maybe. And that's an error. That should be a 0. That was actually the page number in your board book. Just wanted to clarify that. The incident that we do have a number on is the possession and or under the influence of a controlled substance, felony controlled substance violation. It did decrease from 20 incidents in 2018 to 7 incidents in 2019. We continue as a school district to provide school-wide training for students and teachers to ensure school safety. These include emergent tree, school-wide behavior plans, Pure Edge mindfulness practices, Stop It app to report bullying incidents, school counselors that are providing social skills lessons on campus, campus assemblies that review our student code of conduct expectations, Beyond the Talk, parenting programs, partnerships with the Hayes Drug and Alcohol Council, the San Marcos Greater Youth Council, and Synacor, to name a few. Thank you. Next slide.
Thank you. So this section is our student performance in post-secondary institution. It is a requirement of the district to publish this report on how students perform in post-secondary secondary institutions, and the data is compiled by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. This is for the 2017-2018 school year graduates. So again, it's another lagging indicator. Next slide. So here, student performance is measured by the grade point average earned by the 2017-2018 high school graduates who attended a public 4-year or 2-year institution of higher education for a full year in the 2018-2019 school year. The grade point averages are calculated for the fall of 2018, the spring of 2019, and the summer of 2019. As you can see, averages show for students who earned less than a 2.0 going all the way between a 2.0 and a 3.5. We have 123 students that were able to be tracked as attending a 4-year public university in Texas. We had 81 students who were at a 2-year public college in Texas. The independent schools are actually considered private schools in the state of Texas. Not trackable means that students did not have an ID where we were able to track where they attended, and not found means that students either went out of state, they're working, or they did not attend college and they potentially could have taken a gap year. When Ms. Elena Villanueva discusses the survey on the next slide and she reviews some of the data that we've captured here, please note that the data we capture and the systems that we have in place so we can see where students go that year after high school is not reported to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. And so there is going to be that disconnect in the future as we continue to report this out, because again, students need to have an ID within the state of Texas that they are able to track. Next slide.
So looking at the graph here, again, the graph provides additional graduation information pertaining to the class of 2018 based on the end of year surveys that students filled out. 62% of the students reported that they plan on attending college or technical school. 16% of them plan to work full or part-time. 8% plan to join the military. 9% of them were undecided, and 5% plan to volunteer or care for their own children. In addition to the information reported by the Texas Education Coordinating Board, SMCISD has implemented the use of SchoolLink's college and career planning platform this school year, which includes an alumni student account to keep track of SMCISD students post-graduation. Again, that information will be information that will be gathered by the campus to try to keep track of students and see what they're doing post-graduation.
So there is a taper glossary provided at the end of the PDF binder, and it's also on our accountability website. A Spanish translation of the taper glossary has not been released by the Texas Education Agency. When it is released, we will also put it up there on the website. The glossary does include the methodologies if you'd like to go and see how each calculation is distributed amongst the test scores. Next slide. And finally, where are we headed? Because STAR was not offered last year, any student who passed a course that had a corresponding end of course exam had the test requirement waived because of the state of disaster. Changes do continue to emerge. Most recently, the commissioner stated that remote learners will not need to participate in the STAR exam this year. However, the accountability ratings will not be calculated for the second year in a row. Also, the SMCISD annual report, again, is going to be posted on the website. It'll also be made available at our campuses and at the district office. And if anybody has additional questions, they can contact me and we can review the data. But this does conclude our annual taper report.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
On the report on violent and criminal incidents, I noticed that under Goodnight, you had an asterisk instead of a number.
That means that the data was masked,
Okay.
so it was less than 5 students.
Okay, so it wasn't 0, but it was less than 5.
Yes, ma'am.
Okie dokie, thank you. Any other questions from any trustees? Ms. Halsey? Ms. Halsey? You need to mute yourself.
I'm trying. Sorry, I'm having a technical thing going on. Thank you very much. That was extraordinarily comprehensive. I just had one question about the change with the CCMR rating from the coherent course sequence versus the requirement to complete the certification. I think I know what that means, but can you explain what it means and also explain what does that mean in terms of our kids' experience? Because I am imagining that there are some students that take those courses because they're interested in those areas, but they're not necessarily intending to do that professionally. So they're looking at getting, I think points of general education, right? That when you're young, you try a variety of things and you find the areas that you're good at and that you're interested in, and then you pursue those. So are we going to be penalized because we're having kids being able to explore their options and try out different things? Is that the right takeaway, or am I missing something?
So no. So I think you are correct. So those courses are intended for students to explore. And so remember, we have the different endorsements within the high school graduation. So those courses are aimed for students to enroll in those courses, and they're able to get the different pathways that students can graduate with. Now, what the TA has done is that in the past, they would give half credit for students that enrolled in that course as far as being CCMR ready. And so now they're saying, in order for you to be CCMR ready, then the actual certification has to be earned. So again, the child will not be penalized for doing that. And we want students to be in those courses, and we want them to continue to explore the different, just the different careers that are available at San Marcos High School, because there are many, but they will not count towards our CCMR as far as for accountability. And the same things actually happening for the armed forces. So for the upcoming school year, the kids that were enrolled in the military, we want our kids to enroll in the military. And so for TA accountability, they actually have removed that as well. And so we're still going to, administer the ASVAB, and we want kids to take that, and we want kids to join the military if that's where their heart is. However, TA is not going to count those numbers as being college and career ready. But we know that is.
Thank you.
Halsey?
When will that change?
I'm sorry.
Ms. Halsey, the military is going into effect for next year, and the reason it has changed is because, if you recall last year at the presentation, TEA was not able to get any identifiable information from the Department of Defense to see which students had actually joined the military. So it'll still count in PEIMS, but they're not going to count it in the accountability.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? So we can move on to the San Marcos High School update.
Ms.
Thank you.
Cantu, I have a question.
Oh, okay. Mr. Arredondo?
Thank you. Yes. First, Mrs. Sanchez Villanueva, Mrs. Pearson, Dr. Ruiz Mills, Ms. Owens, thank you all so much for this very comprehensive presentation. My question in particular is on page 28, I believe. I'm not sure if that's the board book or page 28 of the presentation, but it's 28 on my email from Georgianne, about the 2018 exit survey from students that indicates, I think, overwhelmingly that, students, when they participated in this survey, were under the impression or assumption that they were going to some type of post-secondary educational institution. And so anecdotally, personally, whether it was when I exited San Marcos CISD schools, my younger sister, or those in between, students may be accepted into Austin Community College, some type of trade school, or some type of four-year institution, but obviously there's a lot of things that have to take place from being accepted to actually, sitting in a seat that first day of fall semester after you graduated. So I'm curious to know, I guess, and obviously I don't think there's a way for you to figure that out now, but I'd be interested moving forward in what type of systems or mechanisms is the ISD putting in place, in particular at San Marcos High School, for when we say, Juan Arredondo is accepted to Texas State, but has he notified them that he's going? Has he submitted his financial aid application? Has he registered for new student orientation? Has he told them he's going to live on a dorm or off campus? So essentially, we know they're graduating. We know they're accepted to Texas State or whichever university they might be planning on attending. But what are we doing before, that final sign-out sheet, their senior year, that last day of classes, where we're saying, we've helped you check all these things off the list to make sure you're actually enrolling the following semester. So I know that was a very protracted preamble to my question or, my thought process. So thank you for that. But that's what I'm of great interest to me.
That's a great question, sir. 2017-2018 school year is when we implemented AVID district-wide. It was also the first year of our Gear Up cohort. So as students continued through the process in high school and then with Ms. Villanueva's position and with our counselors and with Ms. Presley, we were working diligently to make certain that we have a way to help students with that. I know last year we were charged with trying to get 100% of our families to apply for financial aid and to apply at a minimum to a 2-year college. So we continue to strive in those efforts. I think with the school links that we're working on and with the development of some other software that Mr. Hubenak is working on with the Dell Foundation, that will put us in a place where we're able to assist students. We're talking about doing a college palooza and just setting up at the high school and also doing it virtually and helping students with the application process. When they finish, then they go into another waiting room and work on their financial aid. And so I know Miss Eileen Fowler is working on setting that up with the high school as well. And so really what we've learned in the 5 years here is that we really need to take a proactive hands-on approach and guide our students and families as well in the process, because it's very time consuming. And if you've not been through it, it's difficult to get through it and you get frustrated. So that's our approach, and that's what we've been striving for.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for illuminating me on what, has been happening over the past several years. Again, just very interested in this topic because obviously, these students, they themselves are cognizant of, their plan was to go to some type of, post-secondary institution. So if in future years and semesters, as things get quote unquote, back to normal, and a majority of our ISD students are on campus, I would definitely look forward to or be interested in seeing, financial aid application submissions happening during the instructional day or applying for college during the instructional day, just because we know that we are a very diverse community. So having some of these events or functions in the evenings or on the weekends is obviously just programmatically difficult for families to participate in. So anything that we can do during the school day to bridge that divide between San Marcos High School and post-secondary education, I'm very supportive of. So thank you.
And just to add on that, Mr. Arredondo, so whenever we have students that are coming in to take those TSI assessments, and so we're trying to have at least 2 to 3 testing sessions per month where students come in. After they come in, and we do have them meet with the college and career representatives, and so make sure that they have filled out their FAFSA and that they've taken care of, if they need letters of recommendation, that we kind of start that process again, trying to catch all the students and being a little bit more just purposeful about what we're doing and making sure that we're catching all of our students, where I think in the past, we had many kids that took ACT or TSI, and they were the kids that were going to take the TSI and the SAT, whether we reminded them or not. And so now we really our efforts are really going out there to ensure that we include all students. And when we're seeing that a student's not being successful with one of those assessments, then I get with Ms. Presley, and together we kind of figure out, okay, here are the students that are not meeting, so what can we do for them? And so that's where we're starting. We even started the collaboration with the Texas College Bridge, which is a partnership between a couple of colleges and TEA, to make sure that our students are being prepared, and so that way they feel successful, and hopefully encourage them to want to sign up for college as soon as they leave there with us, so they are able to not be in remedial courses.
Trustee.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Ms. Mejia, do you have a question? Trustee Mejia?
I don't have a question, but I do want to just say thank you to both Dr. Grace Mills and Ms. Villanueva, and just doing all it takes for, especially for the first generation students, to get the help for financial aid, for applying for universities, just leading them in the right direction, because I was a first generation student and I had no idea what to do in high school. And so if I can be of any help, and if y'all can let me know of College Palooza, I'm there. I am there to support y'all 100% of the way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mejia. Does Ms. Reese, Dr. Reese Mills, does this complete the taper report?
Mr. McLaughlin has a question.
Oh, Mr. McLaughlin, I didn't see you. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Everybody just ignores me now that I'm not running. No, I'm sorry. I'm kidding.
No.
Ms. Reese Mills, I'm concerned, and I've been concerned every time I see this number, about how poorly the graduates are doing if they actually make it to college. And I mean, obviously expanding opportunities and getting more kids an opportunity is great, but if they go and fail out and have $20,000 of debt, I don't know that we've moved them forward. Why is that? What are you doing to try to get those, the number who finish with a 2.5 or higher to be a larger percentage of those that enter?
Right. So one of the things that I did not mention is that the state has a 60% percentage on students who do not need to take a remedial course, and we're at 61%. So our students who go to college are not having to take a remedial course. Now, when you go to college, their experiences, you're away from home, and so that plays a factor into it. Or if you stay in town, you still have a little bit of independence. But under Ms. Presley's direction, and with a lot of the professional development that we're offering, we are providing our teachers, how to implement that more rigorous curriculum. What questions do we need to ask? We're in a partnership right now with the Dana Center and through E3 Alliance, doing the Pathways of Promise for our math. So our students are taking the appropriate math courses aligned to what it is they would like to potentially major in college. And so we're in that. And we have some teachers that are also helping us in that aspect. So it's really providing these opportunities, more AP courses. You'll see that we're adding a couple of additional AP courses later on in this board meeting. And then also the dual credit. I really think the early college high school will also help prepare our students. So I think the preparation with AVID, with Gear Up, the additional supports, and Ms. Presley will talk about that in her presentation, are going to continue to grow. Again, this is the school year where we implemented a lot of those resources, 2017, 2018. In future years, you'll see that improvement. This current graduating class in 2021, though, you won't see that until 2024. But I believe that you'll see some improvement.
And are you aware of any district anywhere that does any post-grad transitional mentoring for their kids?
So that's part of the Gear Up cohort. So a lot of the districts that have been in Gear Up prior to us will get that. And that is something that I know Ms. Presley is working on, so we can implement for students that are graduating, because they do need that. I know they did something similar in Houston ISD, if I recall, Mr. Cardona, and that's something that we're going to try to do here. And since you're not running for re-election, we'll ask you to help as well.
Okay. Well, I do have one. I already have my own daughter, but yes, however I can be of assistance. I think there's some kids that get out there and, you know, I remember it was like late September and all of a sudden I realized I had no idea what I was doing and I was going to do really bad. And instead of addressing it or having any tools to do so, I just did really bad and not bad enough to, you know, wash out, and then things improved, but had there been some structure, I might have leaned into it because I didn't really know where to go. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ms. Halsey?
I have a follow-up on Mr. McLaughlin's question, and the programs that you just mentioned, Dr. Rees-Mills, in trying to address that student success factor. I didn't hear you mention comprehensive writing programming, and I think that I know a number of university professors that are concerned about first-year students showing up without adequate writing skills on one hand, and I also know that, you know, when a student does finish high school with a really well-developed ability to write, that they tend to be more successful no matter what course of study they pursue. So can you talk about programs? And I know that this year's hard to do that, but especially given that the STAR test has changed the writing requirements. So what are we doing in that area?
Yes, so we're also in a partnership with Texas State University with Dr. Liz Stevens, and we're doing the Texas Writing Project. And so she'll be working with a group of teachers during their writing project symposium that we will pay for, and then also working on that in the classroom. So how do we tailor the writing where students can express themselves and also work on it as a mode of communication, right? And so we're doing that. We're looking at also implementing that through the arts, because it's a form of arts literacy and thinking, and really how if you can write it, then you can think it and you can speak it. And so taking that approach as well. We also have a program, I'm going to get the name wrong, the red ink, the no red ink, and we're using that at secondary at our middle schools, and we're incorporating more writing at the kinder level moving forward. Our curriculum specialists are working with our teachers on that. Ms. Owens, did I leave anything out?
In the scope and sequence in the elementary dashboard, there's more time committed to writing and their writing studio, language studio. Teachers are provided more professional development. We've been analyzing and looking at different phonics programs because we feel like that's that foundational piece that not only the students need, but teachers need really targeted, specific professional development on. They don't just come out of college knowing how to teach phonics and all of the different English language rules. So we have a plan for this summer for our teachers and our staff, and then looking at the writing being embedded in the reading STAR test in grades 3 through 8 coming up. A lot of emphasis is being put on the grammar and mechanics, and really how sentences are structured and how we write a cohesive paragraph. And so we believe that with all those efforts, we're going to see huge improvements in just basic writing all the way up to secondary level.
And that no red ink also provides prompts for STAR and AP, and our ethnic studies courses will also entail some of the writing projects as well, because we want to move the students into going into the research and seminar classes.
Thanks so much. I've seen it with my own students in their classrooms, both in the arts and literature classes, but also in science classes and math classes. So I think it's great. I just was looking for the overview. So thanks.
Ms. Mejia? Ms. Mejia?
Sorry. So I'm gonna go back to Mr. Arredondo's question and just kind of add on to it about providing resources to students. So some of some of the students that we have in our district are more than likely first-generation students. And their parents don't know how to possibly even not speak English. So are y'all also providing resources for their families, and are y'all catering them to like their native language? So I remember like in high school, when I was a senior, I don't remember the type of events, but it was related to like financial aid and, you know, college. And my mom would go with me. And so, but it wasn't in Spanish, and my mom's native language is Spanish. Everything was always in English. Luckily, my mom does know English enough to understand, but, you know, I'm just worried that, you know, students may not have the support from their families. So it may just kind of discourage them from going off to college.
Yeah, so we do provide the information in English and Spanish. We have, whenever we do a presentation, it's done in both languages. Also, Mr. Abdel is working with the university, and of course it goes back to the ethnic studies courses, but Texas State would also like to do presentations in our parents' native languages as well, just to let them know about what that college experience and what that college entry process looks like. And so we had that meeting, I want to say it was 3 weeks ago, and so we're working on that and hopefully able to do it during our pláticas and our community learning exchanges. So yes, ma'am.
Dr. Reese, can I just add on that? And then also as we are rolling out the school links, and so the school links is a platform that actually connects like the, you know, like the planning for college and then the course planning. And then also there's a parent section on there. And so with that parent section, actually, Ms. Pearson and I were going to join forces on that so we could go ahead and begin sharing components of that platform, because I think parents can, you know, be engaged through that whole process, and just at a click, you know, if they have a question on something, parents are able to just, you know, ask questions on there. And again, just, you know, it has tons of information. So we're really trying to figure out, like, you know, we started with, you know, with our juniors, we're moving that down to our freshmen and sophomores, and then with our seniors, just because it's so late, we're trying to get that post-secondary information. And so just trying to figure out a way to centralize all of the information that we have for our families, because we do know that if our families are informed, then students have a better opportunity of attending college.
Thank
Any
you.
further questions from the trustees?
President Cantu, I'd also just want to plug with and add on to what Dr. Ruiz Mills was saying. When we meet with our families individually, we have Spanish speakers in our College Career Center. So as families come in and are completing their FAFSA or college applications, we get the family the support that they need in the moment.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Dr. Reese Mills, then we'll move on to the San Marcos High School update.
Thank you. Great. Well, we will just go ahead and really just deep dive into our San Marcos High School update. The purpose of this piece of the presentation tonight is really just to give you insight on where we are, where we were at the end of the first semester with our academics in terms of credits and attendance, and what that looks like in comparison to last year. So as you recall, last year when we were in the space and the same point in time, we talked about we had 61% of our students who lost credit either for academic performance and or attendance. This year, we are at the end of the first semester, we're at 46.89%. Still not a number that we're completely proud of. Our work is not any easier. In fact, it's a little bit more difficult given the situation that we're in. So I attribute the drop in the number to a personal awareness of mine. There were just some things that we saw at the end of the end of the first semester last year. And so from that time to now, we've spent our time building systems, and it honestly has been a community effort. We've accessed resources from central office, from the community, just building systems to make sure that we can intervene quickly and make sure that we are there to support our students before we get to a point of complete loss of credits. So the raw number of the 46.89% is 1,041 students. I'm going to move to the next slide, please. So 1,041, students are eligible for or will require credit recovery for at least one class. 800 of those students are eligible for credit protection. So remember, the credit protection are students who may have failed a class with a 60 to 69. And so we offer them an opportunity our teachers offer them an opportunity to reteach and reassess and earn up to a 70 on those assignments. So in the next slide, you'll see that we have a series of different ways in which students can recover credit. Remember that attendance appeals and attendance recovery happen. Those are designed for students who have excessive absences. And so many of them may have actually passed the class, and for whatever reason, they have 10 or more absences. And so we run them through one of the two processes. And then Button Academy is a class that's built during the students' regularly scheduled school day. We load them in an Edgenuity class during that class period, and they're able to recover courses that they may have lost either in a previous semester or a previous school year. And then Midwinter School, that's something that we're starting this year. We're actually hopeful and wanting to start today, February 22nd. We've moved it to next Monday. This is a 14-week program that'll take place after school or on Saturdays. We're targeting students who may not have room in their schedule to carve out time for a Button Academy. So we're building this Midwinter School before school and after school. And the goal is that this group of students will come and meet in person, and we have a group of teachers who are going to work with them. You heard Ms. Pearson talk about our midwinters, about MTSS services earlier in the taper presentation. About this time last year, a little bit after the first semester, you approved a position called the MTSS facilitator. And this person, our facilitator, meets with the student success team once a week, as Ms. Pearson referred to. And I know right before we went into the winter, the storms, school closures from last week, the 2 weeks prior to last week, our team had made over 24 home visits. They work incredibly close with Ms. Pearson, our Director of Pupil Services. And I think since October, they've conducted over 96 home visits and have brought many, many, many students who need to be back on campus to learn. And then Phoenix Academy, of course, this is our alternative education program that we are all familiar with. We're excited to be working with the Department of Innovation to really enhance instruction so that we make sure that our students are truly prepared for whatever choices they or whatever pathway they're choosing after San Marcos High School. And then Rattler Recovery. This is a completely virtual program, much like Button, only it's 100% virtual, and we are targeting our 12th graders right now, and this is available and open to anyone who may need it and may not be able to come to school for in-person instruction. So how are these programs working in the moment? If we move to the next slide, Button and Rattler Recovery, we've earned 72 credits in the fall semester, and there's 188 students in Button, 82 students in Rattler Recovery. And so this doesn't seem like an impressive number of credits at first glance. And when you take your 270 students, right, if we add 188 and 82, we have 270 students, you divide that in half, because remember, Button is built in the school day, so it is a year-long course in which students are self-guided on instruction. There is a teacher in the classroom to support them, but it's a self-paced class. And so if you split your 270 in half, that would give you roughly 68 or 67.5. So we're right on target when we think about mid-year, how many, typically you won't think about half credits, but we've earned 72 full credits, and I'm certain there are tons of half credits in the numbers. So we're keeping our expectations high, and we are pleased with our students and our teachers' progress there. In Phoenix, we graduated a student today, so that 6 has already moved to 7. We've earned 271 credits there. We currently have 153 students who are in that program. And then next, our credit protection. So credit protection, we have 778 credits that have been earned in the first 9 weeks. So remember, credit protection is a program that we have that's aligned to our secondary grading guidelines, where teachers have the ability to reteach and reassess students and protect them from failing, from getting to that point where you actually need credit recovery, right? So 778 credits were protected in the first 9 weeks. The second 9 weeks, our deadline was February 19th due to closures last week. We've moved it to Wednesday, February 24th. So it'll be another week or so before we have our final numbers on how many students were able to protect themselves from failing through credit protection. Attendance recovery, this has been a learning community effort. We have partnered with our attendance staff, our attendance committee, teachers who make referrals to the attendance committee or the SST, student success team, our campus admin, our campus counselors, our, Ms. Pearson, again, we've kind of folded her into these two programs tightly, because she's really good at reaching out to the community and getting us the support and that we need, and then finding students who we might have a hard time finding. We've utilized social media, friends of friends, family. We've accessed every resource imaginable to find students who are not attending school and implement a series of appeals and attendance agreements. We also have added courses such as we'll add students to midwinter school, Rattler Recovery, doing everything that we can to make sure that even during this time, our students are able to find success and earn credits and make up their attendance in real time, so that we don't find ourselves in such a bind once we get to the summer months. So currently in our recovery in progress, we have 80 seniors that we're targeting for midwinter school, because we really want them here. We have to make sure they're ready to go on May 28th. And then 174 juniors, 253 sophomores, and 333 freshmen who are in need of additional support. So the recovery in progress, again, on the next slide, you'll see, we're focusing on our seniors, and we want to focus on their graduation requirements. This week, we began doing our senior transcript audits, and then we have our after-school recoveries, Button recovery, midwinter school, et cetera. And then we want to make sure that, that our students are positioned to either graduate, and so we want our seniors to graduate, so we're really focusing on those 80 students. Our students who are in the 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, we've already started for planning for summer school. We have those dates set. We are pulling our staffing together and writing curriculum and making sure that we are well prepared to serve the students that we need to serve this summer. That's where we currently are, and then we'll take any questions that you might have. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Presley. Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Presley, appreciate the presentation. Do you know how much of that gain in the students who lost credit is on account of attendance as opposed to grades?
Yes. Well, it's kind of difficult it's difficult to extract those numbers because the students who lose, like the 1,072 credits that I talked about, so the students who lost credit, those students actually passed their classes and they just lost the attendance credit. And so I can extract the number. It's a little difficult because you have so many students who fall into two categories, and then you might have the same student who, I failed one class, but my attendance was okay. So that was 6th period, but then I wasn't coming 7th and 8th period, and I could have passed it. So one kid could fall into two categories.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, this wasn't part of your presentation, but I think you and I have already talked about this offline, but I'm concerned that you had 250 of 2,000 kids there on a Friday, and I don't think that was the number you were hoping for. And so how is the Friday, whatever we call it, virtual Friday? How are you adjusting that on the fly given those very low attendance numbers?
Right. So there are two things that happened there. One, we've only had one because we were snowed out of the second one, right? So I don't have a comparative numbers to give you tonight. One thing if you look at our trend of attendance at the end of or right before winter break, we were averaging about 700 kids a day. Just before the asynchronous pod Friday, we were at 1,000. On that Friday, teachers were able to contact families. We had teams of people making home visits, et cetera, et cetera. And then on that Tuesday, when we came back after the Parent Community Day, we gained 400, a little over 400 kids back in the building for in-person instruction. And then if you look at our attendance, because remember, attendance is based on engagement, not necessarily the faces that we get to see. And so our attendance on that Friday, we had higher engagement than any other day that week except for the Tuesday. I think we were, so we saw more engagement, and I am aware that there was some mixed messaging that was happening between on our campus. And so I feel like we have clarified the messaging I have, and both with my staff and my parents and my students. And so we'll see, I'm expecting to see more students on campus in person, but the pain was that they weren't here. The attendance engagement and then the numbers that came in after was kind of a testament to the work that my teachers put in to get students back on campus.
So we'll continue to see, I guess. I hope that we can revisit that at the March meeting when you have a little more data.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to Ms. Presley that I noticed the change in messaging, specifically in the way that you were speaking to students this week about what Fridays mean and what the expectations are. And I thought it was very clear, and I really appreciated that. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ms. Hanson?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Presley, for a really extensive presentation. I have a question about two parts, the midwinter school and the summer school, well, first of all, I really think in-person instruction is the important way to go. Online, yes, if we don't as a default, but in person. So for those two, summer school and the midwinter school, are we offering transportation to students that would participate if they had transportation?
Yes, we offer transportation on Saturdays and in the afternoons, which is one of the reasons we couldn't start today. Was we just didn't have it would have been a quick. We'd have to be real quick on our feet, and so we like to give transportation a chance to know where our students where they might need to go. So in summer school, we're still working out those details, and I will put that on our list of things to make sure we cover, because we absolutely need to make sure it happens.
Right, and if you need extra support from the board, let Mr. Cardona know so we can address that.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Redondo?
Thank you, Ms. Cantu. Thank you, Ms. Presley, for the very in-depth presentation on some very important information regarding San Marcos High School. And I apologize if I missed this in your presentation, but the 1,000 or so students who have lost credit in various courses, do you have the data available of what courses those are or what subjects those are? Is it like, AP World History, or is it Office Aid, or is it athletics? What is the breakdown in these courses that students are, losing credit for one, attendance, or two, because of academic challenges of not passing the actual class?
Okay, I do have that. I can get that to the cabinet so that you can take a look at it.
Okay, wonderful. And the reason why I say that is, again, just individually, if a student is losing, and I'm sure you're already thinking of this, if a student is losing credit because of academic reasons in Algebra 1, what are we doing academically to support them to understand the academic material in Algebra 1? Or if a student, dozens or hundreds of students are losing credit in English 3 because of attendance, why are so many students not going to their English 3 class? I'm trying to, I guess, identify, or, if the administration has identified why students aren't going to, X, Y, and Z courses, virtual or otherwise, or why are they, losing credit academically in other courses, or, what, if there's any, connections that can be made in that aspect, I would be interested in, as far as, identifying potential remediation for those students.
Sure, and that's a great question. It is something that we look at. What you'll see right now, and again, we'll just share what we have, but you will see that there's the trend right now is that, typically when students are in the building, it's first period and eighth period, or the periods around lunch, right? So I'm either going to come late, or I'm just going to slip off campus and leave early. What we're seeing in this space of the pandemic is that students who are not coming just aren't coming, and so we're seeing full days missed, more so than we would have in previous school years. And that's where SST and Ms. Pearson come into play, because they really zero in. All of our counselors are on the SST committee, and they really zero in on what the need is. Is this a senior who had to stop coming to school to start working? Well, then we move them into Phoenix and try to find a more flexible schedule so that they can continue to work, because many of them are supporting their families or younger brothers and sisters, right? And then like SST works closely with Hayes, Caldwell County, or whatever, communities and schools. So we have tons of various wraparound services that students might need. But the trend, and again, I'll get it to you, the trend is that we're seeing more of an attendance, day-long attendance issue than we are the spotted attendance that you would typically see in a normal year.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And then my last statement, Mrs. Cantu, is just in regards to our current offerings of summer school, midwinter school, our alternative high school. I'm always, interested or open-minded in, whatever the most up-to-date model that is most beneficial for students. I know my time on the school board and even just my time in the ISD, our alternative high school has gone through several iterations, Pride, Pathfinder, Phoenix. And so as, we exit, this period of, virtual learning and transition back to in-person, I'm definitely interested individually in looking at, is that model the most effective or responsive to the needs of the students, or what other opportunities there might be when it comes to alternative high school programming and course offerings. So just throwing that out there.
Thank you, Ms. Presley. Any further questions? If not, I'm going to call for a 5-minute break, and we will come back in 5 minutes and start with our construction update. If you'll take a 5-minute break. It's 7:45, so at 7. promptly. Let's continue with our construction update, please. Mr. Sandoval?
Okay, good evening, Board President Cantu, Board of Trustees, Mr. Cardona. I'll be providing the February construction update. We're going to start by looking at the budget. We saw a drop over the previous month, and that's mainly due to the elementary school renovations that we closed out last month. But later on this evening, y'all are going to be asked to close out the Goodnight project, and that's going to contribute about $275,000 to the savings. We came in under budget on that project, so that savings, that estimated savings, continues to hover around the $4 million mark, which is good. Looking at the Miller Middle School project, if you can advance the slides, please. Last month, we were given an extended completion date for the remaining phases. One more for me, please. And while we made some progress in phase 3A, we did see an extension on phase 1, which, although I'm concerned with phase 1, and we'll continue to work with Weber on improving that, I'm somewhat pleased with the progress that's been made on the phase 3 completion date. It's still going to cut it very close to the end of the school year or to the start of the school year, but we'll continue to identify ways to work ahead. So what I'd like to do with this slide moving forward is just sort of give you an idea of the changes that are made each month to those completion dates, because they're so critical to obviously the project and what we're trying to do. Just some bit of information. Last week, we missed out on 4 days. Obviously, Monday through Thursday, there was no activity with construction at Miller Middle School. Weber did have some subs out there on Friday and Saturday, which was a good sign. As far as the progress that's been made, as you can see, a lot of work that was done in Area F and Area D. If you pass by there, and I'll show you a video here in a second, but the brick installation is done around Area F. We've got fire sprinklers done, fireproofing, and then some items in the next 30 days. And actually the glazing, or the windows, if you would, if you've gone by there recently, you've seen that the windows are already starting to be installed, which is good, because once we can seal up that building, then work progresses a lot faster. We're not sort of depending on the weather as much. So we're hoping that gets done by the end of the week, and then you'll see a lot faster activity happen inside. So instead of pictures this month, we had Weber furnish us a video. If Andrew, you could play that. I'm not the best narrator, but I'll tell you what you're looking at. So that area right there, just below the red roof right there, that's the area F that we talk about, the band hall, orchestra, choir area. That's the area that's been bricked. That scaffolding has been moved already. That dark area right there will be the new entry leading into the library. And then that area, the blue with the blue wall, that is actually going to be metal paneling, and that'll be the admin area with some labs up top. So you can see a lot of the roofing has been completed on the entire campus. The only area that has not finished is obviously the area with the red. So overall, what you're looking at is about 37,000 square feet of either renovated or new space for the school. It's going to bring the total square footage up to the school of just under 155,000 square feet. It's a massive project when you look at it from this view. Off to the left right there is the courtyard view. Some of the RTUs, the air conditioner units that have been set. The sidewalk that's going in, et cetera. So it's just a different perspective on the project. Instead of the pictures that I've been showing y'all, Weber provided me that video. I hope you guys thought it was pretty helpful. As far as DZ is concerned, if we look at the schedule, nothing's changed from last month. Just like Miller, we're trying to work ahead. If you want to move on to the next slide. We're pushing for, obviously, for the end of the school year to have the library finished on the May 30th date. And then the 3B completion, which is in August as students start returning to school. That's the one that we're going to be pushing hard for. We're talking right now about trying to get into the kitchen earlier. The gym lights have been done, but there's a lot of work that has to happen in those 2nd through 5th grade wings over the summer. As far as activity that's been done, and if you just want to go to the next slide, I can sort of show you in pictures. The new entry last month, as you'll see the new entry as of today. We've removed the fencing. We're getting Bartlett to power wash the road and restrip the parking lot and also paint the curbs. So now it's more accessible, more pleasing to the eye. And then the next slide has pictures of the interior and exterior framing that's going on in the new admin area. That middle picture is a wall that will be demoed. And then the picture on the right is the outside of that wall. So that slab was poured, all that steel work. So actually exterior framing will start, and that'll be part of the labs in the new library area, extending it out on both sides of the building. And then finally, some vinyl that was done in the admin area or in the reception area. That was actually completed over the last 2 weeks as well. So with that, I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'll certainly answer them, but I appreciate your time and attention.
Trustees, any questions? Going once, going twice. Thank you, Mr. Sandoval. We appreciate your presentation. Oh, Mr. Cardona?
I'm just waving.
Oh. I liked the presentation with the drone. I thought that was pretty good. The pictures gives you a different perspective.
It does. You get a scope of how big the project is.
Yes, you do. Thank you so much. We're going to move into number 8, approval of consent items. And on the minutes, I'm going to ask for 2 separate votes for the January 19th and the February 1st, because we had a trustee out on February 1st one. So we'll have to take those 2 separately. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the January 19th minutes.
I'll second.
Who seconded? Oh, Mr. McLaughlin. All in favor, raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Any opposed? 0. Now for February 1.
I move that we approve the February 1 minutes.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Arredondo seconds. All in favor, raise your hand. 6. And we have opposed, abstention.
Abstaining because I was absent, Ms. Cantu, for the agenda prep meeting.
Yes, thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. We're going to move into items for action. Consider approval of school redesign plans, school action fund, action 7, school redesign with blended learning at Travis Elementary. Is anyone, Mr. Cardona, is anyone speaking to this, or do we just go for the vote?
Ms. Dre's here to answer any questions if you have any questions. And
just to clarify, it's for Travis, Goodnight, and Miller.
I'm sorry, I didn't read the last line. I apologize. Goodnight and Miller, all 3 schools for this redesign. Any questions from anyone? Call for the vote.
I move that we approve the redesign plans as presented.
I'll second.
Ms. Giappando seconds. All in favor? Raise your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mr. McLaughlin, are you voting?
I'm sorry, I have my packet over here. No, I'm not voting for.
Okay, 6 opposed, 1. Oh, wait a minute. Mr. Arredondo, you voted against? Can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was still raising my hand in favor. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're 6-1 on that vote. Moving on to consider the approval of innovative courses for the 21-22 school year.
These are the innovative courses. At the beginning of the school year, we did talk about the Mexican American Studies and African American Studies. They are innovative courses that will be offered next year. And then we will also be offering the AP Advancement Placement Seminar and the AP Research course as well. Those courses will allow students to do internships at the university or within the community as well and get the AP designation for those courses. And we also have Ms. Smith on this call if you have any questions regarding those 2 AP courses.
Ms. Halsey?
I'd like to move that we approve the courses as mentioned.
My second.
Ms. Villalpando makes the motion and Ms. Halsey seconds. Any questions or discussion before we vote? All in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed, 0. Moving on to consider approval of board policy update 116. I believe we got all the information on that from Ms. Baez, talking about the different legal aspects that come under the TASB policy service. Anyone to speak on it? Is Ms. Baez here? Does anybody have any questions on it, or are we ready to vote on it?
I move that we approve board policy update 116.
Do I hear a second? Ms. Villalpando, both, and Ms. Halsey raised your hand. I think Ms. Villalpando was first. So we had Ms. Hanson moving and Ms. Villalpando seconding. Any questions or discussion on it? All in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed, 0. Consider approval of early notification of retirement resignation. Incentive for professional, paraprofessional, and auxiliary employees.
Ms. Cantu, I move that the board approve the early notification resignation retirement incentive for professional, paraprofessional, and auxiliary employees.
And I will second that.
I have a question.
Ms. Hanson?
It says, if approved, employees will have 30 days to consider. Do we have a date on that? When it will be due?
I believe it's the end of March. We extended the deadline because of the week off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor, raise your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? 1 opposed. So 6-1.
Who is the opposing?
Mr. McLaughlin?
Thank you.
E, consideration and approval of an order authorizing the issuance, sale, and delivery of San Marcos Consolidated Independent School District unlimited tax refunding bonds in one or more series at one or more times, levying a continuing direct annual ad valorem tax for the payment of the bonds, authorizing an authorized representative to approve the amounts, interest rates, prices, and terms thereof, and certain other agreements, procedures, and provisions related thereto, and approving other matters incident and related thereto.
Good evening, Board President Cantu. This evening we have with us the Trustees Financial Advisor, Mr. Robert Tiarina, and our Bond Counsel, Mr. Juan Aguilera and his son, Humberto Aguilera. And they're going to advise us on a refunding opportunity for some of our bonds. And Andrew, I think there's a presentation for this.
Thank you, Madam President, board members, Mr. Cardona, and staff. For the record, Robert Tijerina with Tijerina, Galvan, and Lawrence. We are the school district's financial advisor. And as Mr. Barton stated, Mr. Aguilera, Juan Humberto are also on the Zoom call. This refunding, before I go into it, this is exactly what the board has done the last couple of years. We refinanced debt in 2019. The district also refinanced debt in 2020. About $73 million. The goal under refunding is to lower the interest rate on the debt, on the existing debt, which means less interest that the district has to pay back. So again, lower the interest rate on the debt, lower the bond payment that the district has on the existing debt. We are not looking to increase the interest and sinking fund tax rate. We're not looking to add any additional debt to the school district's name. Again, the two goals are to lower the interest rate and lower the overall interest on the school's existing debt. If you turn to page 3 of the presentation, we have a summary of the tax-exempt refunding analysis. It's pretty much 16,060,000 of the unlimited tax refunding bonds, taxable series 2015. We're looking to refinance the maturities from 2026 through 2028. The interest rates range from 3.16% to 3.513%. On the bottom left side of page 3, shaded in gray, we have the overall savings, about $517,000. If we're in the market a couple of weeks ago, we would have been able to achieve this savings, future savings. The next column over, present value savings, is about $506,000. Now on the right-hand side of page 3, we kind of highlighted in yellow and blue. Again, on the very top, the true interest rate cost, the TIC, we would be going from an average interest rate on the $16,060,000 of about 3.369%. and going into hopefully a 0.628%. And again, that's hurdle number 1. We want to lower the interest rate on the debt. So we're going from 3.369 to 0.628%. Towards the bottom of page 3 in blue, and shaded in blue, the net present value savings, as I stated earlier, $506,000. And the percentage savings of refunded bonds, we have 3.152%. We recommend our clients consider refinancing the bonds when the percentage savings is at least 3% or higher. Now, if you turn to page 5, we have the summary of the taxable refunding analysis. And here we're refinancing a portion, $9,915,000 of the Series 2012 financing, $6,685,000 of the Series 2014 financing, for a total of $16.6 million. The interest rate for that $16.6 million ranges anywhere from 2.5% to 4%. Now, on the bottom left portion of page 5, shaded in gray, we have the overall savings, about $1.1 million, net present value savings of about $1,026,000. On the right-hand side of page 5, again, the highlighted portions, we're going from an average interest rate on the $16.6 million, 3.452%, and going into an interest rate, again, if we're in the market a couple of weeks ago, 1.31%. So again, going from 3.45% to 1.31%. And bottom portion of page 5, shaded in blue, we have, again, net present value savings of $1,026,000. Percentage saving of refunded bonds, 6.18%. Again, anything above 3% is what we recommend, and right now we're at 6.18%. And again, the two goals: lower the interest rate on both financings, and we're going to be able to lower the overall interest on the debt. And it's roughly about 30-some million dollars we have here, about $32 million, $33 million. And again, we're lowering the interest rate and lowering the interest on the overall debt. On page 6, we have the timetable. On page 6, let's see. Okay, on the timetable on page 6, we have, if the board took action today, I know we had on the timetable, if it's in your packet, February the 15th, we're meeting this evening and the board approves this item, we'll be able to have the rating conference call and also the due diligence call with the attorney and with the underwriters, more or less on March the 9th. The goal is to price the bonds on March the 30th and close on May the 4th. And on page 7, we have the issuer, San Marcos CISD, financial advisor, bond counsel is Camille Panik. The paying agent is Bank of New York Mellon. We have the underwriters, Oppenheimer and Company, Frost Bank, FHN Financial, Siebert Williams Shank and Company, and Underwriters Counsel, Winstead PC. Again, with the refunding, we are not going to increase your interest and sinking fund tax rate. We're not adding additional debt to the school district's name. We're lowering the interest rate on the district's existing debt and saving interest overall on the district's existing debt. For example, it's the same thing a lot of us probably have been doing over the last 12 months, refinancing our homes. We go out there, we refinance our home, we lower the interest rate on our mortgage, and all of a sudden we start saving on our monthly mortgage payments. We're not adding additional maturity, extending this debt out. We're keeping the maturity the same, paying it off an X amount of years originally, and we're keeping that same maturity structure. I know it's a lot of information. I know Ms. Mejia is a new board member, but I just kind of want to again state the key points here. The district has done refinancings over the last couple of years, and we're not increasing the tax rate or adding any additional debt to the district's name. Any questions for myself or Mr. Aguilera, Juan or Roberto?
Does anybody have any questions? Once you remove the presentation, I can see the other board members. Any board members have any questions, comments?
I just have a comment.
Ms. Hanson?
I didn't get that part in my packet, so I'm just wondering if Mr. Cardona could email it to us.
It was, I don't think it was in anybody's. I didn't see it myself.
Okay, I didn't know for sure. I didn't look at the online. I just looked at my notebook.
Ms. Halsey? Ms. Halsey?
So I just wanted to clarify, and if we take these actions tonight, the total savings for the district will be about $1.5 million?
Yes, ma'am. About 1.5 million. Yes, ma'am. And we're hoping interest rates maintain where they're at now, or hopefully get even lower for us.
That's great. Anytime we can save some money.
Yes, if I may speak to that point real quickly, this is Humberto Aguilera with Escamilla and Ponick, serving as bond counsel. Just to reiterate again what's before the board, the parameters order that we prepared. As the district has done in the past, you are delegating to authorized representatives, in this case, the board president and the superintendent, if it's the board's wish to move forward, will be given the authority to actually execute and sign off on this transaction. And again, that's a benefit to the district, in the event that, for whatever reason, interest rates were to move away from us, the authorized reps have the authority to execute when those interest rates come back. The delegation is good for 1 year. So it's not an endless delegation. And also we've established certain parameters which are based on the information that Mr. Tijerina has presented. Our amount cannot exceed 32.66 million. So that's the two total amounts for both series of bonds. We have that the net effective interest rate cannot exceed 4%, and that there must be savings of at least 3%. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, and we're happy to address any questions that the board may have.
Any questions from the trustees? Thank you very much, Mr. Tijerina and Mr. Aguilera. We appreciate your presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Cantu. I hope everyone is doing well along with your families.
Thank you.
Ms. Cantu, I move that we approve this agenda item.
Do I hear a second? Ms. Villapando seconds. All in favor, please raise a hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm missing somebody. Where's Mr. Arredondo? Is Mr. Arredondo, are you voting for
He's
this?
in agreement. He's saying yes.
Yes, okay, so 7 all opposed, 0, so it passes. Next item is consideration and approval of redistricting legal services retainer agreement.
Yes, ma'am. After every census, we're required to go through the process of redistricting our trustees' boundary lines. We bring you tonight an agreement for that process that'll start now, and it'll continue into next year until about November. This is a professional service, so it doesn't necessarily go through the traditional procurement process, but it is the board's process. It's not the district's. And so we want to make sure you have an opportunity to approve this contract before we move forward.
Ms. Villapando?
I have a question for Mr. Barton, Dr. Barton. Let me see, what was my question? How soon does this, once he redistricts, how soon does it take effect to, what election?
I believe it's in the following year's election. So the census data is still tough for us to get a hold of, and Mr. Rios and his team will be able to get it faster than we will. But this process will continue into next year. We're planning to still be having discussions with you about it going into November-ish. So maybe next May.
Okay.
Ms. Halsey, you have a question?
Yeah, I had a constituent ask about this, and so I just wanted to clarify for the record, and please let me know if I'm incorrect in any way, but that this pertains to the election boundary design of the city based on the census, not to the school attendance zones.
That is absolutely correct.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Villapando?
Another question. What about, we had to divide it into a certain amount of voters for each district, right? Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. They make sure each district is proportioned equally.
Are you talking about the single member districts?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, of course, the
The at large doesn't matter.
at large doesn't matter. It's a school district. But no, I'm talking about single member districts. Yes.
Okay, I was just clarifying.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question? We're ready.
I move that we approve the redistricting legal services retainer agreement.
I second the motion.
Ms. Hanson moves on the motion, and Ms. Villapando seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not seeing Mr. Arredondo.
7-0.
7-0. Thank you. Now, the next G, H, I, and J all have to do with election order. So I don't know if we want to take them together or individually. Consider Exhibit A and B to the election order. H is considered contract with Hays County for the purpose of election services. I, consider resolution to participate in joint election to be held on May 1, 2021. And J, consider contract with Guadalupe County for the purpose of election services. Do y'all want to take these individually or together?
I think we need to take them individually.
Okay. But all 4 have to do with our election. So do we
Were there
have,
some changes, Dr. Barton, to Exhibit A?
The only change was the one the board inquired about at agenda prep, and that was the voting location at Texas State. That was approved by Texas State, and it is notated on the voting locations.
Okay, thank you.
do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve Exhibit A and B.
I'll second.
Ms. Hanson moves and Mr. Arredondo seconds. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
7-0.
7-0, thank you. H, consider contract with Hayes County for the purpose of election services. Mr. Barton?
That is just as it sounds. We're going to have a contract with each county, and we're required to have a resolution for a joint election. So those are redundant in a lot of ways, but that's just the process. Hayes is supporting Caldwell in this process.
Thank
I
you.
move that we approve.
Ms.
I'll
Villapanto
second.
moves and Mr. Arredondo seconds. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7-0.
7-0, thank you. I, consider resolution to participate in joint election to be held on May 1, 2021.
I move that we approve the resolution.
I'll second.
Ms. Hanson moves and Mr. Arredondo seconds. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, please show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and
7-0.
7-0. Who am I missing? I'm missing, no, I've got everybody. Consider contract with Guadalupe County for the purpose of election services.
This is our agreement with Guadalupe.
I move that we approve this contract with Guadalupe County.
Second.
Ms. Hanson moves that we approve the contract with Guadalupe County and Mr. Arredondo seconds. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. 6, 7. I oppose, 0. Consideration and possible action to accept Goodnight Middle School renovation bond project. Dr. Barton?
I believe Mr. Sandoval is going to speak on this one.
Oh, okay. Is he still around somewhere?
Yes, I'm here, Ms. Cantu. So this is the completion of a summer project that we had going on at Goodnight. It was an original $1.9 million project. We came in at 1.68. As I mentioned earlier, a savings of about $275,000. A lot of HVAC work, lighting. We replaced some kitchen equipment. We did some redo some restrooms in the cafeteria. We did some painting of the auditorium, a new dance floor, and a new floor in the dance room, drainage by the football field, and a lot of work with the fire alarm system. All of it has been completed. The final thing, we've got the final payout. We've got all the closeout documents. The only thing that we're going to be doing next is the commissioning, which just applies to the warranty work.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to consider the accepting Goodnight Middle School renovation bond project?
I move that we approve this item.
I second.
Hanson makes the motion and Ms. Halsey seconds. Any questions or discussion for Mr. Sandoval? All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed, 0. Consider approval of City of San Marcos sidewalk easement at Rodriguez Elementary School.
So that's mine as well, Ms. Cantu. This item was on the agenda for last month, and I failed to answer the questions correctly. So I've asked Karen Williams, who's with Trace Development, to attend the call this evening. She's actually on the call and will comment regarding this and answer the questions that surfaced last week or last month. Karen? You might be on mute.
Do we have any questions for her, or was she going to speak?
Well, she's on the call. She might be on mute, but I think the biggest question was who's going to maintain it. And based on the documents that we have, it does say that the city maintains it for repairs, and I can speak specifically to that for repairs, installing, reconstruction, replacing, operating, and maintaining the public access improvements to include sidewalks, pedestrian pathways, and bicycle paths for the use and benefit of the public.
I have a question.
Yes.
I can understand giving him the sidewalk easement, but why do we have to give him the extra 2 feet beyond the sidewalk?
That was that was for a larger area to make it safer for the residents of that area to walk to school, to walk in that area. That was the reasoning for the larger sidewalk.
They're going to add to the sidewalk?
The sidewalk is larger, yes.
So, but I thought they wanted an additional 2 feet beyond the sidewalk.
And I'm trying to pull up my notes here.
Finally, Bernie, I'm here.
Yes, Karen.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Technology.
No worries.
So that's all right. We made the part of the sidewalk easement, we made the sidewalk 12 feet instead of 5 feet along the front of the school. And that was because the city wanted the sidewalk wider. And then as we were building the sidewalk, we realized that we needed to move it over. Instead of 5.5 feet from the curb and gutter, we had to move it 7.5 feet. So 2 feet of the sidewalk is within the city's right-of-way, and 2 feet of the sidewalk is on school property. And unfortunately, back in June of 2019, Jay Wesson and I and Cindy and Kasparis, we realized that we needed to do this, and we were all trying to work together to get the school open in time for the August 2019 school year. So we sent the information to Jay and to Cindy, and they were going to try and present it to the school board in June of 2019. Unfortunately, the cutoff date for getting this whole entire item onto the school board's agenda was it happened at the last minute, and then they said, well, we'll have to get it to the July one. And for some reason, I wasn't really sure, but I think that there wasn't a school board meeting in July of 2019. So they said, okay, fine, we'll get it done in the August one. And then it was forgotten. And I actually thought that the easement had been granted and all taken care of, so it never came up again because I figured that Cindy or Jay or somebody from the school district had gone ahead and recorded it. And then about 3 or 4 months ago, the city contacted me and said, hey, we don't have a copy of the sidewalk, the public access easement for the sidewalk. And I said, oh, well, that's odd. I'm sure that it was recorded. So I started checking with the title companies, and that's when we realized that the public access easement had never been recorded, even though we had all intended to get it recorded. And that's why we're bringing it to the school board now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does that take care of your question, Ms. Henson?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else have a question or comment? Are we ready for the vote? We haven't had a motion, have we?
Ms. Cantu, I'll make a motion that we approve the sidewalk easement as presented.
Mr. Arredondo makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Ms. Villalpando will second. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. All opposed? 0. It passes 7-0. Dr. Barton, I think this one's yours, budget amendments.
Yes, ma'am. On page 94 of your board book, we bring you 2 budget amendments this evening. The first one is to fund the retention incentive that the trustees approved last month. All total between child nutrition and locally funded positions, it's about $608,000. And that is Amendment 11. I don't know if you want to take them together or separately. Amendment 12, as we continue to do with our departments where we have planned money and budgeted for travel in a certain function, and because of COVID, that hasn't been able to happen. We're asking trustees to allow us to move that money into a function that we can use for instruction. In this case, this month is for career and technology. We're going to spend a very small portion in facilities, and you can see that in the maintenance to add to one of our shops just with a sink. And the rest of it's going to go into instruction to make sure kids who are learning remotely have all the tools, additional tools they need in preparation for certification exams.
Ms. Cantu, I move that the board approve the attached 2020-21 two budget amendments.
I second.
Ms. Halsey makes the motion to approve. Ms. Hanson seconds. Any questions for Dr. Barton? All in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 4, 6, 7. All opposed? 0.
1.
Oh, you're opposed?
1.
So it's 6-1.
And who opposed?
Mr. McLaughlin opposed. And that
I move that we adjourn.
Your motion to adjourn. Ms. Viapando seconds to adjourn. All in favor, show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. None opposed. And I guess it's the end of the meeting.
Thank
Have a great evening.